Men, just like women, actually see a deterioration in their reproductive capacity as they enter into midlife. It's not as abrupt as we see with women in the sort of mid to late 30s. What we see with men is as they start to enter into their 40s, there is a decrease in the potential for the sperm to fertilise the eggs, as well as to go on and create viable, healthy embryos and offspring. The study that we actually performed was a longitudinal study where we followed the lives of male mice. Unfortunately, this is something we couldn't do in the human since it would take about 60 years. And also that we wanted to standardise or account for the egg, since so many times with human couples, obviously they're very close in age. So when you're looking at an older father, you're typically looking at an older mother. And so we wanted to look specifically just at the older fathers. So we used a mouse model and we followed these young pubescent mice right through to later life. And they had the pleasure of mating with younger females, and that way we could actually look at the impact of the aging male through reproduction. And what we found is both naturally as well as in vitro fertilisation, that there was this impact on reproduction once they reached midlife. And for that in human years would be the 40s. And this was very similar to what we observe in human, what we call observational studies, where we look at the health of offspring from older fathers, and we see the same thing, that there's at risk for health diseases like schizophrenia, autism, even lower IQ has been correlated with advanced paternal age in humans, and that's exactly what we saw in the mouse, that at this time point of midlife, that there was this reproductive deterioration and this lack of capacity to actually obviously have a healthy offspring. We found that it was an issue of not being able to reproduce. We naturally mated our male mice and found that the time to pregnancy, so the time it took for them to reach pregnancy, which is something that we use in the human as well, as how many months of unprotected sex until you actually obviously conceive, that was much longer, significantly longer as these males age through midlife. And then, of course, the health of the offspring is so important, and that's exactly what we see in the human as well. But what's novel about this study is that we had all those controls, the control for the female age, as well as following these males. They were fertile when they were young, they had no problems, they had healthy offspring, and then once they hit that midlife of that 40s equivalent in human, we saw that deterioration and they became infertile.